Greetings, programs. Today I'd like to take a few minutes to go through this document that the Biden administration released on March 2nd, the National Cybersecurity Strategy. This is going to have implications on our industry for quite a while, so I think it makes sense to at least skim through it and look for the important bits that might be impactful and relevant going forward. So let's go ahead and dive right in. All right, so first we've got a cover letter from the president. Makes note of the $65 billion he had approved for rural infrastructure for high-speed internet. Very nice. This is important right here. Appointed senior cybersecurity officials at the White House and issued an executive order on improving nation's cybersecurity. So EOs can be very important and have long-term impacts, as we all know. So that's what makes that right there declares that this is an important document. So, and that's really I think the interesting bits on the cover letter. So let's keep going. So here's our table of contents. Fairly short document. Got an introduction that just sets the stage. We've got 5 pillars here: defend, disrupt, shape, invest, and forge, and then finally how it's all going to be implemented. So let's get to the introduction first. Introduction, and a lot of this is just table setting, fairly common knowledge. Let's see, but then when we get to, you're reading through and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, I know all this. Then it gets really interesting right here. Our approach, a path to resilience in cyberspace. 2 fundamental shifts in federal government policy. First is rebalancing responsibility to defend cyberspace. So the thesis here is that end users are really kind of been the bag holders on this thing, which I think is true, right? When when a large business service provider, data custodian gets breached, it's the little guy that usually ends up bearing the brunt of the consequences, right? And just the way systems are designed, really we're demanding that users never click on links and they don't do this and they don't do that, and if something happens and it's their fault and all that sort of thing. And so that's probably not reasonable, right? So I think that those are fair comments to make. So how are we going to fix that? So what the Biden administration is suggesting that protecting data and reliability of critical systems must be the responsibilities of the owners and operators of the systems that hold our data and make our society function, as well as technology providers that build and service these systems. So that's a very big shift. So the second change is, and this is related, realign incentives to favor long-term investments. So what that means is convincing the industry that they need to take a long-term view rather than a quarterly shareholder view of how things get done. So that, again, that has their serious implications. So how's the government going to do that? They're going to focus on points of leverage. So that's going to be carrot and stick. And this document does get into that. And I think we're going to touch on a couple of those things later on in the highlights. So, and this is just acknowledgement of some of the things that are already have in place. All right, here we go. Pillar 1, defend our critical infrastructure. So how are we going to do that? Administration has established new cybersecurity requirements in certain critical sectors. Other sectors, new regulations that can drive better cybersecurity practices at scale. We've conducted sector-specific engagement with industry to construct consistent, predictable regulatory frameworks for cybersecurity. So that sounds like a lot of just building on what's already in place in terms of the NIST, like SP 853 and the CSF. That's what it sounds like to me. Okay. Now, this is new. We must build new and innovative capabilities. So that implies there's going to be funding and grants for that. So if you're going to be interested in getting a PhD or something, that's something to look at. Administration is committed to improving federal cybersecurity through long-term efforts to implement, zero trust architecture strategy and modernize IT and OT infrastructure. So zero trust is now enshrined in our nation's cybersecurity strategy, so I can't make fun of it as much anymore. Actually, I have to use the word zero trust. Yuck. All right, so let's continue. Objective 1.1, establish cybersecurity requirements, support national security, blah, blah, blah. Okay, see if we have anything in here that caught my eye. I think it's mostly federal government related. Scale public-private collaboration. Okay, here we go. Now this I thought was interesting. Complement human-to-human collaboration efforts with machine-to-machine data sharing and security orchestration. Well, that sort of sounds like SOAR/XDR. Interesting. Realizing this model will enable real-time actionable multidimensional sharing to drive threat response at machine speed in partnership with the private sector. Explore technical organizational mechanisms. So this is like some sort of like super massive automated incident response infrastructure. This is going to be very interesting. I like that. That's something to pay attention to. What do we have? I missed something. 1.3 integrate fail reserve. Okay, that's more federal government stuff. Federal incident response plans and processes. Let's see if I noticed. Nope. Modern federal defenses. Okay. Okay, Pillar 2, disrupt and dismantle threat actors. Okay, this is mostly federal government stuff. Here's public-private operational, okay. Increase speed and scale of intelligence sharing and victim notification. Okay, so this is going to mean probably some changes to disclosure laws. Okay, here we go. Federal government will increase the speed and scale of cyber threat intelligence sharing. That sort of was related to the last thing that caught my eye, which was the sort of automated machine-to-machine communication between organizations and stuff. Okay. Also, proactively notify. Okay, interesting. Yeah. So, this again implies a degree of automation. So people are going to automatically be notified they've been targeted, I'm presuming. So this is going to require infrastructure of some kind. Prevent abuse of US-based intel infrastructure. Okay. Chapter 2.5, counter cybercrime, defeat ransomware. Okay, what do we have here? So this is important. The United States will employ all elements of national power to counter the threat along 4 lines effort. So this is a very powerful statement. All elements of national power. This is how serious we're taking ransomware. And then the thing I highlighted here was addressing the abuse of virtual currency to launder ransom payments. They want to cut off their ability to get paid. So that implies more regulations around cryptocurrency, I would assume. Joint Ransomware Task Force, I think that's already a thing. Pillar 3, shape market forces to drive security and resilience. Okay, now we're getting into the stuff that's really relevant to the private sector in more detail. To build the secure and resilient future we want, we must shape market forces to place responsibility on those within our digital ecosystem that are best positioned to reduce risk. So this ties to the policy shift that we noticed in the introduction, right? So let's see here. They're saying, okay, we're restating organizations choose not to invest cybersecurity negatively and unfairly impact those that do, often disproportionately impacting small businesses and vulnerable communities. So this comes back to, the little guy being the bag holder and the people or organizations that are shareholder driven, that are just, that are driven by the quarterly profit. And so they're not investing in the things that they need to invest in to protect everybody. So this is a common good argument, I would say. Okay, so to address the challenges, administration will shape long-term security resilience, digital ecosystem, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so new laws. So increased liability, right? So definitely, so that's going to be coming. Okay, so that includes, what do we have? Stewards of data. So if you're holding data, there's going to probably be new laws there. Development of secure IoT devices. Okay, I thought this was really cool. There's going to be an IoT security label to help consumers make informed decisions. So hopefully that will incentivize the market to not produce vulnerable IoT products, which would be nice. I like that. That's an easy win. Shift liability for insecure products and services. Okay, so let's see what we have here. Companies that make software must have freedom to innovate, but they must be held liable when they fail to live up to the duty of care they owe consumers, businesses, or critical infrastructure providers. So I would say security by default, that's going to be a thing. I think that's pretty clear right there. Okay. Develop legislation establishing liability for software products and services. So yeah, this is coming. I thought this was cool. Promote the further development of software bill of materials. This is an area that it's slow-hanging fruit. There's some companies out there that offer easy-to-use products that already do this for you, and it really should. That's a pretty low effort. It should not be hard for anyone developing software to integrate this. So that's good to see. I like that. Okay. Leverage federal procurement, improve accountability. Again, it's not relevant to private sector. Cybersecurity insurance backstop. Okay, that's an interesting one. Wonder how they're going to fund that. Okay. Secure technical foundation, the internet. Oh, this is an interesting one. Check this out. This document specifically calls out BGP, DNS, and IPv6. So that's really interesting. So I think the days of just good old-fashioned unencrypted UDP DNS is going away, and so we're going to also see, BGP. We're going to have to make some decisions about BGP security. So that'll be interesting. Slow adoption of IPv6. That's another interesting to see how that develops. How the government's going to incentivize private industry to deal with those. Reinvigorate federal research and development. Again, this is going to be a great time to get into the academic field if you're looking for grant funding. Interesting stuff. This is cool. Prepare for our post-quantum future. Establish a process for timely transition of the country's cryptographic systems to interoperable quantum-resistant cryptography. Cool. I would expect to see maybe competition being held by NIST. We're going to try to maybe develop some new cipher suites or take some that are in development and figure out which ones are the best ones. So that could be interesting. Energy future, that just kind of feels like a throw-in, honestly. Development of a digital identity. Okay, this is definitely one of those kind of scary things where you need reliable digital identity, but there's so much potential for abuse. It's just a difficult problem. Let's see what they say. Lack of secure, privacy-preserving, content-based digital identity solutions allows fraud to flourish fair. Perpetuates exclusion of equity, adds an efficiency to our financial right. Okay. Federal government will encourage and enable investments in strong, verifiable digital identity solutions. Okay, so of course the problem with this, the rub is you gotta have something that doesn't have a potential for abuse. That's, I think, what everyone's going to be concerned about. I expect a lot of debate around this one. Okay. Develop a national strategy to strengthen our cyber workforce. Okay, so this is like job stuff. Yeah, okay. And that was it, was it? Did we get to the end already? No, we didn't. Okay. Pillar 5. Forge international partnerships. This is going to be mostly government stuff. Okay. 5.2, strengthen international partner capacity. 5.3, expand U.S. ability to, okay. 5.4, build coalitions. Okay, nice. 5.5, secure global supply chain. Okay, great. Let's see. Implementation. Okay, here we go. Under the oversight of the National Security Council staff and coordination of the Office of Management Budget, ONCD, will coordinate implementation of the strategy. ONCD will implement interagency partners, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay, so what this means is, at least from the federal government side, there is going to be infrastructure to ensure this gets implemented and measure it and all of that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. So they're very serious about this, clearly. And let's see if there's anything else. I think that was it. Yep. Okay. So there's quite a few nuggets to digest here. And thanks for going through this with me, and I hope this was worth your time. And till next time, cheers.